All right, what's up YouTube? I'm Theory. Today's video, we're gonna be talking about how to change your life. Now, I know that is a very common topic, but I see that a lot of people are having a little bit of confusion on exactly what to do. And we're gonna talk about exactly how to do that with this three-step framework that I've developed. Now, before we get into this video, I do want to say who I am. I am Theory. For the last 3 years, I have been changing my life to the complete opposite of what I used to be. I grew up from a third world country. I moved to Florida, and it was a tough life. Lived in a camper, was $40,000 in debt, had a drinking problem, had a vaping problem, had all types of stuff. But I was able to change my life real fast and real quick, and with the abilities that I'm about to demonstrate here. Okay, so a lot of times when we talk about changing our life, how to change your life. Now, there's a lot of information on YouTube which actually serves you, but also disserves you, because it shows you so many things and so many things to do at the same time that it's unlikely that you're able to actually implement all of those, right? So with this framework, I was able to create this, right? So most problem when people are trying to change their life, they try to change their life so fast, so quick, so everything. It's just crazy, right? So the first step I have created, and you might have heard this before, but once you actually understand what I'm about to talk about, you guys will you understand exactly. So step one is disown your old self. So my old self, and I give myself an example, my old self, I would party a lot, I would drink a lot, I will be always just racking up debt. I always think to my old self, I said, I can never make money. I used to always have these limiting beliefs about myself until eventually I was able to define new standards, okay? So step one, disown your old self. Now, it sounds easy, but it's a very hard process, because what happens is that your old self is rooted in habits. Now, because it's rooted in habits, it's a very hard thing to get rid of, because habits are hard to break. Now, and then the next step is actually going to tell you exactly what to do. So now if we go to step two is define new standards. Now, what does that mean, define new standards? Define new standards is very simple. Things that you now do and how you operate. Okay, standards are basically you rise to our standards. Now I have a quote right here. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your identity. Okay? Because this old self is who used to fall to yourself, right? So you used to fall to this old self, and then now you want to rise to the level of your new standards. So for instance, I now have a standard that I wake up early. So by default, I no longer wake up late anymore or anything like that, because this is now a new standard. It's also a new standard for me to go to the gym. It's also a new standard for me to eat clean. It's also a new standard for me to make sure I take care of my finances. These are all standards. And what's happening is a lot of people do not have these standards in place, and it's causing them to screw up their life. Now, once you define these new standards, and like I just mentioned before, is things that you know that these are the musts, and this is what I do now. So once you define these new standards, step three is to repeat until belief. What does that mean? Repeat until belief is you practice these new standards as if they were law. Because eventually, before you even had your old self, which is your current self right now, before you had your old self, which is your current self, you already had these standards of what this old self is. So you just met those old self standards, which is you currently. Okay? Now, I've been in that position because I used to think my old self was all there is. So I was always asking, how do I change my life? And how does all these people have all this money? How do all these people stay in shape? How do all these people stay motivated and able to keep aspiring for new things and new greatness? And it wasn't until I broke down myself, I sat on the edge of the bed and I said, what am I doing that goes against what I want? Okay, because if I want to change my life, I must do something that's different. For your life to change, you must change, right? So for your life to change, your old self needs to become your new self. Now, if your old self is becoming your new self, you say, how can I stay in this new self because of all these habits? Well, okay, so let's say you want to change your life, and the first thing you want to say is that I need to get to work early because I'm about to lose my job. Okay, so you say you want to go to work early. You need to get to work on time, right? So if you want to get to work on time, so right now your old self goes to work late. Work late. So if you're currently going to work late, you now want to create a new standard where you go to work on time. So because now you have a new standard that you go to work on, this is an R, by the way. So now because you have the new standard that you go to work on time, this inverse, so basically to disown your old self and to create this new standards that you will apply to yourself on a regular basis, you're now inverting what it is. So if you go to work late, you go work on time. If you drink alcohol, you don't drink alcohol. If you do drugs, you stop doing drugs. It's basically, to change your life, you have to basically do all the invert of the negative stuff that's impacting your life. Okay? Now, all that, once you repeat it, is when your life starts to become. Because if you keep on doing the same thing, eventually it just becomes normal. Eventually it becomes so basic, ingrained into your body that you don't even think about it anymore. This morning I woke up at 5:30 a.m., which was late because I went to bed late. But that's okay. 5:30 is late for me. But 5:30 is late for me. But I know that if you were to talk about yourself, you say you go to work late, and you probably have to be work at 6 o'clock. 5:30, or you have to go to work at 7. 5:30 would be a good time for you to wake up, because now those standards, because your standards are so high, this becomes inevitable. Now, once you repeat it until it's belief, you now have the ability to understand that you can say what you want and your word is bond. Okay? So repetition until belief. Breaking habits are not easy, but what people seem to forget is that habits itself was formed. So you can create new good habits. You can also break old habits, right? For having a system in place, right? So whatever you try and change, if you put a system in place, so let's say you work late, you show up for work late because you go to bed late. Now, what you can do, you can put an alarm. So a lot of people have alarms to wake up, but you can have an alarm to wake up. To go to bed. To bed. You can put an alarm to bed. By putting the alarm to bed, now you know, I need to start getting ready and preparing for bed. So now you no longer have to even think about it. Because a lot of times what happens is we try to use all of our willpower on trying to remember things that we must do and remember all this stuff. But if you put a system in place, this is the system. This is the system in place. You have now put an alarm that tells you to go to bed. So you don't even have to think about it. If you set up your time, if you go to work Monday through Friday, you set your alarm Monday through Friday at 7:30 or 8 o'clock that you need to go to bed, because you need to be up early because you want to be to work on time, right? So it all goes into place. So because you now have this alarm and you go to bed, now it's so much easier to repeat it because you don't even have to think about it, right? Because now you put a system, right? So, and repetition until it's belief. Habits, they say it takes 21 days. 21 days to form a habit. And it takes 60 days. 60 days for it to stick. For it to become truly you, right? For it to become a belief, okay? So if you take this 3-part framework, I think you can change your life pretty easily. And they overcomplicate it, especially with the social media and YouTube and everything like that. They overcomplicate it. It's not that difficult. Now, this framework right here can be actually placed into multiple different areas in your life. Let's say I want to stop drinking. So let's say the new thing is, I want to change my life, and I know to change my life, because you have to sit down on the edge of the bed and you have to ask yourself, what is it that I'm doing right now? If I stop this, my life would change. Okay? For example, mine was drinking. Yay! Yes. So anyways, I used to drink a lot. And I said, well, if I stop drinking, will my life get better? Absolutely. I will no longer have hangovers, meaning I can get to work on time. I will not be up late, meaning that I will not be up late, meaning that I can wake up early, and meaning that I can get proper rest of sleep, meaning I can do everything I need. So I said, okay. So my old belief said, believed that I needed to drink alcohol. So my old self used to say, I need to drink alcohol. Well, alcohol, and I said, if I take out alcohol, my life would change. Because the whole goal is to change your life, right? So most of the times you have really big factors that if you just eliminate those big factors, but people like to negate them because they're therapeutic. Well, we like to say, oh, this is therapeutic. We need this. Just take the stress off of work, take the stress off of life. But what happens is you're much stronger than you think you are. If you do not use alcohol, you actually start fixing things in your life because now you don't have something crutching you and making you forget about your reality. So alcohol is usually used for like an escape or to enjoy, things of that nature. But most of the time, it's usually used for an escape. Now, because we have to disown our old self would say alcohol is what we need, and alcohol is what was going to get us to the next place, the next beat, and everything like that towards wherever we want to go. Now, our new standard would be like, well, I know some people don't have the willpower and everything like that to just completely get rid of alcohol. I now can have alcohol in my house and still not even drink it because I just have my standards so high that it just no longer affects me because I've also repeated until I believed it that I no longer need alcohol for me to have fun, for me to enjoy my time, any of that sort. Now, will I mean I'll ever drink again? Maybe. It's possible, but I don't really see in the next future because right now we have goals that we have to achieve, and alcohol, I know, will be a crutch for me. But let's go back. So step 2, to define new standards. Define new standards, okay, so alcohol was ruining my life. Let's say alcohol was ruining life. Ruining my life. So because if alcohol was ruining my life, I know that if I eliminate this, it would change my life completely. So if I can remove alcohol and change my life completely, I now define a new standard as no more alcohol. Now, it can seem a little harsh right at first, but eventually over time you get used to not drinking. You get used to not doing certain things. It just becomes normal. Everything becomes normal over time. One thing I always live by is it's not hard, it's just new. Just imagine how when you first started wearing your job, it might have been difficult. You didn't know what to do, you didn't know how to do X, Y, Z. And then eventually, over time, you now can do it in your sleep. You're just over here. It's all easy now. So once you got the alcohol, it no longer becomes. And then you start to see a lot more things, but we're not going to go into the deep psychology of everything like that. But so now, disown your old self. Alcohol is ruining my life. No alcohol. That's a standard now. Your standard is no alcohol, and if you do drink, maybe, very, very rare, very, very minimum. But if you have an alcohol problem, I don't know if you should probably, I would just go cold turkey. But that's me, right? I'm very all in or all out, okay? So step 3 was the repetition until beliefs. So if I know that to change my life, I need to remove alcohol. New standard would be new standard would be no alcohol. And then step 3, repetition until belief, right? So if we're going to repeat it, so we're just going to repeat it over time. So the first week might be hard. The third week might be hard. The month might be hard for you if you drink a lot. But eventually, it now becomes your new belief that you no longer need alcohol. Alcohol. Okay. So once you disown yourself, disown your old self that used to believe that alcohol, whatever vice or whatever thing that's really crutching, because you will find out exactly. If you sit down on the edge of the bed and then you wonder, you say, self, what is one thing I can stop right now? And if I did, my life would change. stop. I didn't say add, because a lot of people like to add things, which is unnecessary. You don't need to add things. Changing stuff is more about removing things, which a lot, I know, because of all these gurus, they're talking about, all 75 hard and all that good stuff, which is great, right? Meditation is great. Reading books is great. Doing your workouts is great. Eating a clean diet is great. Drinking a gallon of water is great. All these are great. Progress photos are great. These are all great. But if you have a bad foundation, if you have a bad start, it's kind of hard to add all those stuff while you're drinking, while you're doing whatever vice it is, while you're doing whatever X, Y, and Z. Plug in whatever you need to do. Plug in whatever, and you will realize that if you remove one thing in your life, most likely, it could be alcohol, it could be weed, it could be partying. If you stop doing those, you define your new standard as no for it, right? So obviously, this is going to be the inverse. So basically, this is the inverse. All right. So these are inverses of each other, okay? So if you know that if you stop this alcohol, you stop whatever vice, you define that this is your new standards, you tell all your friends that you don't do this no more, this is not your life, these are my new standards, these are my new goals, these are my new boundaries, and you repeat it until you believe, you will no longer need whatever advice you need, because now you are starting to move in a certain way. Your mind it starts to open up and see other opportunities and other vessels to carry you to whatever you need to go to, right? So hopefully, I think I broke it down very simply, because a lot of times what they like to do is give you so much fluff. I want to go straight to the point. I want to get you exactly all the information you need, because it's really not that difficult. It's just new, right? You never think about your old self or your current self. You never think about all that. You never think about creating new standards. You never think about repeating until you believe it, because you just automatically do these things with the bad habits, all right? You don't think about this because you just do, right? All your friends, your environment, your friends, your family, they just all enable you to do whatever you're doing. So once you learn to disown yourself, your old self, define new standards, and then repeat the new standard until it becomes belief, then your life will change. And if you don't believe me, I will show you proof. I will show you. Oh, by the way, I'm sick, but that doesn't matter, because it doesn't matter. I have to get you guys this information. I think it's absolutely important that we change everyone's life for the better. Like, you don't need to be a millionaire. You don't need to be making thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a day. But if you can change one thing in your life and actually make your life a little bit better, I think that's exactly what we need in this world. So once you do implement these three things, all right, so I think the assignment for you guys, and I don't know, you guys can leave in a comment. Leave in a comment if you guys, what is your one thing. I just want one thing. You don't have to do 3 things, 4 things, 5 things. Just do one thing, because people like to just overload themselves with so many things to do, so many tasks. What is your one thing that if you got rid of, and then you switched it and you invert it, and you practice it, will make your life better? So go ahead and put those in the comments. Next video is gonna be absolutely fantastic. So see you guys in the next video.